Hi, I'm Dave Epstein, and welcome to this edition of Growing Wisdom. Today we're going to talk about saving your tropical plants, which have been outside all summer through the winter. So a tropical plant like this does real well in colder climates all summer long, but unless you're living in far southern climates, it's going to die in the winter. So we want to dig it up, pot it up, and leave it in the house this winter. So the first thing you've got to do is get this out of the ground, and depending on how long this has been in the ground will make it a little more difficult to get out. I know this particular plant isn't that hard to get out, so we'll loosen it up, and we want to be sure we get all the roots. And you can see a nice root ball here. Now we're going to put this in a pot and we'll be able to keep it all winter long. Let's pot her up. So this particular tropical plant I'll probably move back outside next summer, so I'm only using a plastic pot. If you want to keep it inside permanently, maybe you get a more decorative pot. Remember, we want to have drainage, so we have drainage holes here. You can put stones in the bottom. I'm not, because I don't want it to be too heavy. So I actually use landscape fabric instead of stone. So the landscape fabric here, you can get that at any of your local garden centers, goes in the bottom. And then for drainage, I'm going to use some of these packing peanuts. I like using packing peanuts for drainage in rather large pots. So what I like to do is put some of the packing peanuts at the bottom. So we'll put some of those in there. And then I'm going to cover the peanuts with another piece of landscape fabric so that the soil doesn't get all mixed in with the peanuts. This will give me some nice drainage at the bottom of the pot, especially in the winter when plants tend not to like to sit in any water. If I accidentally overwater this, the water will really drain out well. Next thing we're going to do is add some of our container mix. I never recommend using soil from the garden because it might contain bugs or eggs of bugs which may hatch inside your house during the winter. We'll talk more about that in just a second. So once we have our soil on the bottom, we're going to take our plant, carefully place it in, leaving enough room at the top so that I can water it successfully. In general, I recommend a pot that's only slightly bigger than the root ball. This pot is probably a little bit too big for this plant, so we'll have to be real careful not to overwater it. The reason why you don't want to have a pot too much bigger than the roots of a plant is because when the soil is wet, the roots won't be able to absorb all that water, and that can cause root rot. So that's why a lot of these plants actually like to be in a pot that's a little bit tighter. For the purposes of this video, the pot is a little bit large. So one of the other things I will do with this before I bring it inside is I'll treat it for insects. Now, although the plant looks pretty good, it could have insects lurking in the little crooks and crevices of the plant. There could be eggs on it. So I treat all my plants with a systemic insect control that go inside. Yes, this is a chemical, but I'm okay using that for my houseplants. I don't use anything like that on food, but on houseplants, I put the systemic in the soil, and that will keep this plant healthy all winter long. I'm also going to spray the plant with a horticultural oil before I bring it inside. That will smother any eggs. Between the systemic and the horticultural oil, I shouldn't have any bugs inside the house this winter. Tropical houseplants can certainly give those of us in northern climates a lot of pleasure by moving them outside during the warmer months. However, if you want to keep the plant all year long, you've got to bring it back in. By following these easy steps, you'll be able to enjoy your plant not only in those warm months, but all year long. For Growing Wisdom, I'm Dave Epstein.